So the idea is robotics and even AI replacing human beings, essentially.
Correct.
I think it's a huge risk. The main reason is robotics or robots are unfatigable. They can go forever. Routine maintenance, oil here or there, upload software, but they can go forever. Whereas humans obviously need to replenish energy, but the whole point of it all is skill set. Skill set, meaning are you in an industry or a business that offers a skill that cannot be replaceable by AI or robotics? Unregulated AI to do whatever, Neuralink with Elon Musk and, putting computer chips in your brain. Yeah, it makes sense because we're all just electrical signals and wavelengths. But in that, there is a soul. And the question is that human soul a programmable thing or not? And so on a very philosophical level, I think it's a very dangerous area to push towards replacing a human soul or what makes us human in the chase for AI. Is it easier to control 500 million people or 5 billion people?
Well, 500 million.
Yeah, same analogy. Yeah. So that is an idea. It's not to save the world, man. Mm-hmm. Really, because you could fit 7 billion people in a landmass the size of Australia. And that's assuming I think 2 acres each person or something like that. Bam. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Yun Win. And as my friends affectionately call me the Ninja because my fans are my friends, you can call me Ninja too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, motivation, self-improvement, drive, success, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Happy Halloween in this freaking freezing Tuesday in Houston, Texas. I mean, it's just Texas weather, y'all. If y'all don't know, it's very unpredictable. We basically skipped fall, went from 80 to 40 in a matter of hours. So, but it feels good. I like it. I love this kind of weather. I'm in the middle of 75 hard day, 40, whatever, 45. And when it gets cold, in the summertime, when I'm out doing my outdoor, I see people walking and running and do all the summer stuff. But man, when it gets cold, it is just me. And that lets me know I'm doing the right thing because it's only me out there in the cold, enduring the weather. So it makes me feel good. But before we get into the podcast, I want to start this podcast like I start my day, which is giving an expression of gratitude. The feedback on the podcast has been phenomenal over the last few weeks. It's just growing and growing and growing. And if you're new to the show, don't have any sponsors to the show. So I do this on my own dime, on my own time. Spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of investment of effort and energy just to bring this content to you. So the only way we grow our show and spread our mission, I say our because we're doing this together on this journey, is for you to share the show. And so I like to say if you get value out of this show in any way at all, share the show. So if your knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. So I appreciate all the likes, comments, everything, especially the follows, the shares. Please do rate us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating. That helps us rank and it helps us spread the word, spread the news of inspiring billions of people across this planet. Also, if you're new to the show, we do different types of shows. Mainly, it's me just doing a monologue on some type of concept related to success, self-improvement, something like that. But sometimes we do have a guest on, which is a longer duration show. Last week we started something new called Prolific Q&A with my co-host, and so that went really, really well. So we're starting a new type of segment today, which is called Prolific P.O.V, Prolific Point of View, where we're going to talk about anything politics, personal development, pop culture, personalities, just anything that is of recent, and I'll give you my point of view. And how are we going to do this? Well, we're back again with my guy, Arif Mirza. Welcome back, man. This might become a thing with you co-hosting. But if you're new to the show, Arif Mirza is the founder of Focus, FOKUS.vid. I found him through a sponsor actually on Instagram, where he was just starting out to offer video editing services, video recording. He just started out. It was some type of offer where it's like unlimited video editing for like $50 a month, something crazy.
It wasn't that long.
I'm kidding. But it was a really good deal. So I reached out, and then over the last year and a half, slowly developed this relationship where now I'm spending a lot of freaking money with you, man. Yeah. But he takes care of me in this podcast. So Welcome back to the show, Arib.
Yeah, good to be back, man.
Yeah. What now? If people want to find you, where do they find you at?
Well, they can go to my personal on Instagram at @IAreebMirza. So that's IAREEBMIRZA. And my business account is focus.vid. But just follow my personal if you want to message me.
Okay. Focus, FOKUS.vid. And please do follow him. If you're into creative, being a creative, he offers a lot of good content on how to make video edits, how to record things with your phone, with the camera, with the equipment, whatever, software. Really do follow him. There's a lot you can learn through his posts. So, prolific point of view, kind of spawn, a thought in my head. Let's do something around current events a little bit. And so we're going to try this out. Let us know how you think it is. Leave it in the comments what you think. And if you have an opinion on anything we do here on Prolific POV, then leave it in the comments. But just to let you know, I have not seen any of these things. So Arib, the way it's going to work is Arib has selected randomly a couple clips. We're going to watch it, gauge reaction, give comment. And I have not seen any of these clips, so I have no idea what they are. But maybe they're controversial, maybe they're not, who knows. And just to say that this is just opinion only. So none of this is supposed to be taken as like advice or anything. It's just my opinion, just his opinion. So let's go with this first one. I have no idea what it is. Let's take a look.
Okay, let me talk about the first video real quick.
Okay.
So this, I think, video would lead to advice.
Okay.
But let's watch the video and then I'll kind of give context about it.
Okay.
We're not gonna make it, are we?
So as we're watching the video, let me explain. This is robots in early stages taking over Amazon warehouses, replacing people's jobs. That was kind of a funny bit.
Okay.
But that's kind of the video, and I have an article over here
Okay.
where they're working on new robots to kind of just take over all the manual labor.
Okay. So the vid, for those that aren't on YouTube, that are audio only, is Robotics, designed by Boston Robotics, I think out of Boston Robotics, that are doing warehouse work in Amazon warehouses, replacing humans.
Correct.
And so what would be the question related to that?
So my question would be, like, there's still a lot of manual labor jobs that people do. And if robots come tomorrow and then offer a service or a job where there's no mistakes, there's no errors, there's just a perfect robot doing perfect things, should that concern you? And should you wake up to do other stuff?
Yeah, so the idea is robotics and even AI replacing human beings, essentially.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge risk. The main reason is robots are defatigable, unfatigable. I think that's a word. They can go forever. Routine maintenance, oil here or there, upload software, but they can go forever. Whereas humans obviously need to replenish energy, but the whole point of it all is skill set, right? Skill set, meaning, are you in an industry or a business that offers a skill that cannot be replaceable by AI or robotics? Then I would say you're okay. But even skills that are creative, even attorneys, I've received several phone calls where, hey, can you draft this for me? Because or review this document for me because this is what I got off ChatGPT. I have friends that are sending demand letters off of what they get ChatGPT.
Wow.
So if you're a transactional attorney, does that pose a risk for me, for my work, my line of work? Yeah. I always say, and even predating that, there were friends of mine that wanted to form a business and they would go on to LegalZoom, which is kind of an automated process. But with that, I always tell my friends or clients that, it's an 80-20 rule. Yes, at least in the legal industry, AI, automated processes can cover probably 80% of the work if it's not litigation. Talking about drafting stuff. But it still requires 20% art skill, right? Viewpoints, angles to look at things through experience and through understanding who the opposition, the other side is, right? That's something I don't think AI could replace.
Yeah.
But the more automated, the more systematized your role in your work is, the more easily it can be replaced. I mean, look at graphic designers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
in my supercar
That's a
group,
good one.
it used to be, hey, photographers would go, hey, I'll shoot 20 pictures of your car for $100. Recently, as of last week, we had dudes that were just posting AI generated images of their car on different road settings, in the mountains, on the beach, and it looked phenomenal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So creative aspects, replaceable. Manual labor, where it's just a simple process, a systemized thing, replaceable. So you're looking if you feel threatened, or if you're entering an industry, you want to look to industries where it's still going to require a little human touch.
Yeah.
Right? In medicine, that was a fear, because a lot of medicine is very algorithmic.
Yeah.
You get these symptoms, you go through an algorithm, this is the diagnosis. But the delivery of that care still, I believe, requires a human touch.
Gotcha.
Right? So the dynamic may change and the value proposition may change, but the need of human touch is always there. Warehouse work, replaceable. I mean, there's McDonald's locations that is fully robotic, fully automated, right?
Yeah. Even like grocery stores.
Stores.
There's one in California. I think California right now, where it's an Amazon store, you don't need people. You can just walk in, pick something out, and walk out.
And walk straight out, and it probably restocks the shelves automated. So I've seen, hamburger flipping. I've seen pizza being made.
Yeah.
That being said, robotics, software, computer, it's input, output. So they're only as good as what the input is, right? So if in flipping hamburgers, there's a glitch in the programming, right? Easy malfunction.
Yeah.
Right. So additionally, where would the jobs lie? Right. As I speak to my son Nate, who's 16, learn AI programming, learn robotics programming, learn robotics, the hardware of robotics, wiring. It still needs humans to develop the technology. So on that back end, there's an abundance of job opportunities, right? Data processing, data mining, those things related to robotics and AI. So I would say, yeah, there's a lot of risk. But then there's also a lot of opportunity. Because if you know how to leverage, like, for example, these AI image designs and tools, then you can infinitely scale your business. So if you're selling images, instead of you having design and craft each one by one, you can instantly design these images and go on. But let's move on to a more philosophical standpoint. Is the Terminator a documentary? Like these situations where AI becomes self-aware, the singularity where it becomes self-aware, and the idea is to protect humanity. Therefore, it has to protect us against ourselves. The whole I, Robot with Will Smith, that movie.
Yeah.
Is that in the future, foreseeable future? It's quite possible. So I think the closer and more we get to AI, the
more chance. Yeah.
I would say the more focus on what makes us human needs to also go in parallel. We cannot lose our humanity or the essence of who we are as organic beings made out of God's image in the chase for AI. We have to keep who we are in the realm, because the closer and closer we get to AI, in theory, the less there is to need to be a human.
Yeah.
Right. And we tread a very dangerous moral line if we're chasing AI too much. So unregulated AI to do whatever, Neuralink with Elon Musk and, putting computer chips in your brain. It makes sense because we're all just electrical signals and wavelengths. But in that there is a soul. And the question is that human soul a programmable thing or not? And so on a very philosophical level, I think it's a very dangerous area to push towards replacing a human soul or what makes us human in the chase for AI. So, but yeah, I don't know, a lot to unpack there.
So what would you say to somebody who is working a manual labor job that not ideally, can be easily replaced if something better comes along? Like, I'm pretty sure, because with the person, it's like they have emotions and stuff like that. And when it comes to manual labor job, like emotions don't really matter. So if you bring a robot in,
yeah, manual labor job. Well, it's manual labor. So what matters to, let's say, the manager or the owner of the company is production, because it's manual labor, right? It's a repeated process over and over and over and over again. And so the more that process is repeated, the more items you can make, the more products you can make, with the more output.
Yeah. So what would
so
you
that
say
goes
to,
back to being defatigable, like robotics. Like assembly lines is robotics.
Yeah.
A lot of cars are being built robotically, but I will say, where's the highest value in cars? So like the assembly line, robotic, right? But there's a premium for what? Handmade cars. Rolls Royce, $500,000. They're all handmade.
Yeah.
Right? McLaren, all handmade. All the supercars, generally speaking, handmade. Aston Martin, handmade, hand checked. You know what I'm saying? So will there always be a value on more handmade things? I think the more robotics get into making everything similar and cookie cutter, the more valuable handmade things will become. So if you're into manual labor, try to find a trade where handmade items carry a premium, right? Just like carpentry, right?
Yeah.
You want a handmade carved dresser, might carry a premium than something that's mass produced at like IKEA. No offense, IKEA. Nothing against IKEA. You might need better instructions in your products, but nothing against IKEA. But the point is that if you're in a manual labor position, either shift to an area where handmade items carry a premium, or alternatively, you might have to shift careers entirely.
Gotcha. Is there any jobs that existed a long time ago but don't now because of technology?
Oh, that'll always be the case. I mean, I say again, the easiest example is the assembly line worker, right?
I mean, some stuff I could think of are like, I mean, they still exist, but stuff like travel agents and taxi drivers, like newspaper delivery, like these things are becoming irrelevant because everything's just on your phone. You don't really need all these services.
Well, taxi driver would be not a good example because you still need somebody to drive you there, right?
No, like taxi driver as in the regular taxi driver, like you call for a taxi, but now you have Uber.
Yeah. Okay, so not transportation, but just the taxi industry. Well, that's human nature, right? We always move towards anything that offers better convenience, save you time, be more efficient.
And I also have a better one. This is related to sports. Like we've seen, especially in soccer, football, technology is getting so better on the goal line technology, and then just checking if somebody's on the line, if the ball went through. Like the referee's job is just becoming, I would say, easier and easier at the moment, but it'll be to a point that it won't exist.
Well, don't get me into sports, man, because I have a different view on sports. Just remember, the professional sports industry is a hundreds of billions of dollars industry.
Yeah.
And when you have that much money in play, I can't say, or one could not say definitively that there's not some kind of messing with the results situation going on. I think it's, professional sports is entertainment. And entertainment has to require what? Some controversy, some wiggle room to push things one way or the other.
Gotcha.
And that's, I think, wearing my tinfoil hat where the referees come into play, right? So you can't have technology. Gotcha. Technology is black and white. There's no gray zone. iRobot, like I'm gonna save the person that has more value than the other person and let the other person die. Right? Technology cannot. That's what makes us human, is the ability to make a judgment call. Right?
Gotcha.
When you're dealing in a binary system with zeros and ones, it's either 0 or it's 1. There's never a 1.5 or a 0.5 or there's no gray zone with robotics or AI. There's no
Gotcha.
judgment calls. And so with sports, you need judgment calls in order to offer that wiggle room in the grander scheme of things of a multi-$100 billion industry, right?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So but that goes back to your question. How do you become irreplaceable?
Mm-hmm.
Get good at making judgment calls. Get into an industry where it requires a judgment to be made on a decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you say the bottom line is don't be lazy?
Don't be late. No, I mean, you got to get the experience. You got to get the reps in to understand. See, here's how AI is programmed. I'm gonna give you 1,000 similar scenarios, and there's a probability of each scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So when AI has to make a decision, they're gonna weigh towards the decision that has a higher probability of reoccurring and a predictable outcome, right? But sometimes that's not the best choice.
Yeah.
It's 80-20 rule. You can go 80 times this way and be completely right? But that doesn't mean you can't be right if you go the 20 route either and make that decision. So AI can't make that discernment. It'll always go 80. It'll never do the 20. It can't understand, maybe this time we should go the 20% probability route. And that's where a judgment call has to be made. So things like, that's why I think litigators won't be replaceable. Because in trial, you have to make judgment calls because you're dealing with what? Other humans, right? You have to make a judgment call. What message is going to resonate better with this jury? And that's a feel thing. AI can't feel. They can only process scenarios and make outcome binary decisions. So it's that kind of situation where judgment call things, industries where it calls into judgment, you got to make a gut decision. I don't think AI can replace very well yet. I don't know. I'm not a software expert, but I don't think so.
I mean, it would be kind of very, very difficult to argue against AI. Like if you're an attorney, your judges.
Well, the AI would know facts very well, or the law very well. But the persuasiveness, the judgment call, should I make this strategic move or not in a trial?
Yeah, okay.
Because
so it would change the approach.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Sometimes if you go too hard at a witness, even though you might be right, it turns the jury off in the courtroom setting, right? You have all the facts on your side. You're about to prove this person a liar. But if you go too hard and direct, then it turns the jury off and they're not even listening to what you're saying.
Gotcha.
But if you go soft and slowly peel the onion back and reveal that this dude's a liar, the jury clicks on. Now, AI can't make that decision. The AI can just go straight at it with, zeros and ones. But it's not a judgment call. How do I get the feel of the situation, the vibe of the situation the right way?
Gotcha.
It might get to that point. I don't know. But as of now, it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? The sensitivity of the human soul, again, it goes back to what makes us human, right?
Nice. All right, you want to move on to the next one?
Let's go on to the next one.
So the next one is, might need to watch this a little carefully.
Oh shit! I see economic foreman. Man, I don't want to get murdered today. I'm not ever suicidal. Just letting y'all know.
All right, ready?
Because, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
Shit, man, you gonna get me killed, bro. So that is a clip.
This is economic forum.
Yeah, that clip is what's her name? Dr.
No, I'm not sure of her name.
No, she's like a famous famous. She's like I don't want to say famous, but some type of researcher. We'll plug her in the edits, but she's basically making the argument at the. I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna call it the Global Economic Forum.
Okay.
That way we won't get flagged. But replace the word global with a W, and
Right.
then you know what we're talking about. Yeah. So this is at a Global Economic Forum symposium where she's making the argument
Human
for
population.
depopulating the planet,
Yeah.
suggesting that the world would be at a better place if fewer of us were around. Man, why you gotta get so controversial right out the gate, dog?
I mean, I wanted to see what your thoughts are about.
Listen, I think Elon Musk put it appropriately. The
less,
issue,
less traffic in Houston.
well, yeah, it'll affect my business if there are less people. But hell,
Yeah,
I might not
that's
even be here. I'm not suicidal, by the way. No, the argument she makes is the world will be a better place with fewer people. The issue is that's an incorrect statement. The reality is as Elon Musk states it, is that we have a depopulation problem already.
Wow.
There's fewer and fewer and fewer people reproducing.
Mm-hmm.
Japan has been struggling.
I thought about that one. Yeah.
Japan has been struggling with this. European countries are struggling with this. The whole argument for their migration political strategy is to replace workers because there's not enough workers. In the United States, the average household, I think in the 60s and 70s, used to be 3.7 kids. Mm-hmm. Now it's like 1.2 or something like that. So there are actually fewer and fewer and fewer people.
Yeah, in some countries they even have like programs or something.
Well, China used to have the one child rule, right?
No, like some European countries, because they have such depopulation that they like give out programs like do this and we'll like give you 8 or something.
Like to go have kids?
Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah.
And so it's not a depopulation issue. It's a repopulation issue. Because we're not having enough in the pipeline to sustain the older generation.
Yeah.
And so, when you're having, in the United States, for example, males with less testosterone now than they had 40 years ago. I mean, what is the science suggests that the average 20-year-old male today has the testosterone level of what a 60-year-old male used to have.
Why is that?
So testosterone as a population has been declining. Why is that, man? I got to put on a third tinfoil hat if we want to get into that. But no, I think, there's.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
There's, who knows what's in our water? Let's just say, research that. And I'm not being conspiratorial. I mean, it's only a theory if it's not proven fact. Yeah, if it's not proven fact. And if you look it up, there are many things that have been proven fact. But the idea here is that, I go back to the main point of kind of on a global thing. If you're in power, what do you always want more of? Or what must you maintain
Power.
For your survival is more power. Yeah. And more power requires what? More control.
More control. Yeah.
Right? And so if you always go back to that, premise, then you can understand why a lot of things happen on a global scale. Mm-hmm. If I'm in power, I want to A, stay in power, and B, get more power in order to stay in power. So what's more easy to stay in power over? 100 million people or 1 billion people?
100 million?
Yeah, it's easier to control fewer people than more people.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Is it easier to control 500 million people or 5 billion people?
Well, 500 million.
Yeah, same analogy.
Yeah.
So that is an idea. It's not to save the world, man. Mm-hmm. Really, because you could fit 7 billion people, I think, in a land mass the size of Australia, and that's assuming like I think 2 acres each person or something like that. I can't remember the specific study, but if you gave everybody in the world like an acre, 2 acres, something like that, you still could fit everybody inside of Australia. So it's not we're outgrowing the size of the planet argument.
Yeah.
It's not. Is it? Is it
So
a?
why are they talking? Why are they saying it publicly then? Is it to like convince us, or like, yeah, like it's happening for a
So
reason?
the Global Economic Forum.
Mm.
That's a tagline for something else. Um, that's a morality question. Okay, without getting too into it, let me just say this: a point of view. Can't say if it's right or wrong. I say, Arib, after the show, I'm gonna go to your house and punch your mama in the face.
Okay.
Right?
Oh,
I tell you,
know
I
where
said,
you're getting
Arib,
at, yeah.
I'm gonna go to your house after this show, after this recording, go punch your mama in the face, and
Mhm.
you're gonna laugh it off. Whatever, dude.
And you do.
And then
it,
after
yeah.
the show, I actually go to your house and punch your mama in the face.
Yeah.
Right? And you're gonna come to me and then, why the hell you do that?
Like I told you.
And I'm gonna say, well, it's not my fault I went over there and punched her in the face.
Yeah.
I told you, and you did nothing about it.
Mhm.
So whose fault actually is it?
It's my fault.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
Because you could have taken me seriously. You could have stopped me. You could have called your mom. Hey, if Yun shows up, he's gonna punch you in the face. So don't open the door. You could have done a lot of things to avoid that scenario.
Yeah.
So it comes to question: if I tell you I'm gonna depopulate half the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and we, the
Laugh it
people
off,
looking
yeah.
to get depopulated, do nothing about it, whose fault is it?
It's our fault. Correct.
Right? So then it becomes a moral question of who's to blame if that actually happens. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Audience, what do you think? I mean, what do you if somebody tells you they're going to do something negative to you and you do nothing about it, whose fault actually is it?
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's your fault. You took no action to prevent it.
That's true.
Right? Morally. Now there's some people who more believe no, the perpetrator is the one at fault. But if you had ample warning, whether you took it seriously or not, whose fault really is it? Or who? I don't say fault. That's not about whose responsibility really is it. See, I lie on the line of personal responsibility. I am ultimately responsible for what happens to me and what I care about.
Yeah.
Regardless. If you're gonna warn me where it threatens me or what I care about, whether it's a joke or not a joke, I got to be aware and take precautionary measure. It's for me, but that's where the benefit of being understanding personal responsibility, that everything just falls on me, it matters.
Yeah, it's like that scenario where if you buy an apple and you eat it and it turned out it's poison, then it's the person who sold you the apple's fault. But if the sign says poison apples and you still buy it and eat it,
Or
then
it would be like, okay, here's
Yeah.
a bunch of apples, but if I tell you, hey man, before you buy one, I think one of these is poisonous,
and you still take
and
that
you still
chance.
take it, the risk, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. It's not because I put a poison apple in. Hey man, you can buy my apples,
Yeah.
but one of them has poison.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna sell them to you really cheap, and you
Yeah.
still buy one to eat it. That's you. So it goes back to why I emphasize with my law firm, with my employees, with everything I do, my family, you are ultimately responsible. Because when you take that view, I am ultimately, it makes you think everything you say, everything you do, everything you plan, you think, if I have to take ultimate responsibility on this, how would I do it?
Yeah.
And it also helps you think of the safety net you put underneath your systems, right? Had this issue in my law firm. One of my teams having a problem. One of the attorneys having an issue with the paralegal, going back and forth, bickering, not a lot of work getting done. I go to the attorney. I say, look, man, what's going on? Well, blah, blah, blah is not doing this, that, and that. I say, okay, well, but who's responsible? I am. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care if
Yeah.
things aren't going well between you and your team.
Yeah.
You got to fix that because you're responsible. Don't come to me and say, hey, man, my team isn't listening to what I say or do or not doing what I tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Fix it because I'm not looking to downstream to your team member. I'm looking at you because I put it at you. Now, in that scenario, I also took responsibility saying, hey, I didn't monitor you and your team well enough to intervene a little bit earlier so that it didn't escalate to this. So I took responsibility.
Yeah.
But then ultimately I have to take responsibility because it's my name, it's my law
It's your
firm,
law firm. Yeah.
right? So if that got out of hand too far, I had to take responsibility for that,
Yeah.
for not checking in more frequently. Hey, how are things? How are things going?
So if it did go wrong, it would ultimately be your fault because you didn't check.
Well, if it all goes wrong, it's ultimately my
Yeah,
fault. I'm gonna have
yeah.
to answer to the state bar. I'm gonna have to,
Yeah.
defend the position of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's where, hiring the right people and trusting and empowering the right people avoids that. But in this particular instance, it's just, whose fault is it that your team is messing up?
Yeah.
Because in any dialogue or any relationship, it's a 50-50. Because that's definite. If you and I are doing something and something goes wrong, it's still 50-50, right? Did I explain it right to you? Did I confirm you understood the instructions? Did I confirm what I wanted you to do and how you wanted to do it? Because if I didn't, then what does that leave room for? You could do something wrong.
Yeah.
But then if I put the blame on you, that would be wrong. Because a relationship is 50-50, right?
Yeah.
So the things I could take responsibility for, you could take responsibility for, right? Maybe I didn't confirm the right that you understood my instructions, but then also you didn't confirm if you understood the instructions.
There's blame on both sides.
There's blame on both sides, right? So what the technique here, and you could use this for your business audience, is that it's instruct. Sorry, let me back up. It's instruct and then ask. Instruct and then ask. What do I mean by that? Arib, I need you to do A, B, C, D, and E this particular way. You got it? Most people, I got it. Okay, good. Go do it. No. The ask is, now repeat back to me what I just told you. Right? Arib, I need you to do A, B, C, D, and E this particular way. Repeat what I just said.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I give you the instruction, your mind might be on, man, I'm hungry. It's what's for lunch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got it. Don't. But if I say, hey, repeat back to me what I just asked you to do, you either repeat it correctly or you don't. And that way we're reconfirming the communication, right? Yeah. So instruct and then ask. Let me be more specific. Instruct and ask for a repeat. Instruct and ask for repeat. That'll save so much miscommunication in team settings. That if you just implement this one thing, you will find that the work goes much more smoothly.
Yeah.
Went through that process in a day or two, everything smooth. Right? Yeah. And so that's why I told my attorney, when you instruct so-and-so, are you asking them to repeat what you instructed them? No. Then how do you know they got it? So if they mess up, is it on them or on you? Right? So it goes back to taking ultimate responsibility, going back to this global economic forum idea of, what if they're telling, why would they tell us that they want to
So your main message is to kind of like just learn to take blame as well. Just don't blame 100% on others.
What, say again?
Just don't 100% blame others. Like, see if there's personal responsibility and take it.
No. If you really analyze every situation, there's not see if there's any, there's always personal responsibility. Okay. Because there's always something else you could have done better to have not let the situation.
Avoid that circumstance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
There's always something you could have done. Right? But that's the process, right? Because now you're learning how to take responsibility. That's the two things you actually need to be successful. Discipline, which includes consistency and all that, and then learning how to take ultimate responsibility for everything. Yeah. For everything. Somebody else has messed up, still you're responsible. When you do that, you stop blaming people and you start understanding, hey, I am in total control.
You start looking for solutions.
How do I do this better? Yeah. How do I take more control so that this doesn't happen again? Yeah. Right? Because it's the same thing. You're playing a victim when things don't work out. Oh, it's his fault. It's their fault. He didn't do this right. She didn't do this right. She didn't listen. Then you never look to yourself in order to get better. Right? And therefore, what is the goal of this podcast? Living to your fullest controllable potential. Yeah. Well, if you don't take responsibility, what are you controlling? Nothing. So then you're never going to hit your potential.
Yeah.
Right? It's constantly, okay, what you may analyze a situation where you find out where the responsibility lies, but the most important is understanding where you were responsible for that situation.
Yeah.
So going back, why would they be telling us this? Well, I don't know, man, the moral question. But what do we do? What do you do if you think it's going to happen? You got to take responsibility. Got to take responsibility. You've been warned.
Yeah.
You've been warned. I mean, this is an open forum. Why would they say these things?
Yeah.
Other than to suggest that you've been warned. If it doesn't happen, hallelujah, man. Thankful.
Yeah.
But if it does
yeah.
happen,
you were told.
you're
right?
told.
You were told.
You were told. Right. And I'm just a peon. I'm not like a little speck on the
Yeah.
speck. I'm a little, not even a fly. I don't know, the speck of sand on their arm and they just flick off. But I'm just saying, you have been warned. Whether it's true or not, time will tell. We'll never know. Who knows? Not this generation, maybe the next or the next and the next. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it comes to question, why would they be talking about this nonsense?
Correct.
You have been warned.
Yeah.
Right? So, do we have another one? Is that it? 2?
That should be it.
2 is good.
Two
All right. So, glad to bring you this episode of Prolific P.O.V. Point of View, where we're talking about politics, personalities, I don't know, personal development, whatever, something current, where Arib sends me apparently controversial stuff.
Yeah.
But we talk about it, give some opinions, thoughts, and ideas. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do like, comment, follow, share, rate us on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you think of this kind of segment. This is the first time, so it's going to be evolution and refinement and bringing you more entertaining content. But I think it's a nice balance against, constant self-development stuff, where we're interweaving all of this into current events type situation. So, Prolific Point of View. I'm going to end my show as I end my day being grateful. Before I put my head down, close my eyes, I thank the universe. I thank God for another day having lived and be able to make an impact. So thankful for Arib, his team. Again, Arib, Areeb, Mirza,
Yep.
Mirza. Sorry about that. And at Focus, FOKUS.vid on socials, where you can follow him. Learn a lot of stuff about photography, videography, software. Give him a follow. You'll find you'll like his content. But glad to be back. Glad to bring you up the episode. Thank you very much for following and sharing. Be great today, but be even more grateful. Look forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon.